The first clue about this season is to look back at last season. Many of us probably remember the record-breaking Arctic blast, but the season as a whole was relatively mild. In fact, it averaged out to near normal temperatures, and snowfall for the season, December, January, and February, was well below normal, just over 30 inches of snow. Same trend for the entire snow year. The only thing that really stood out was about the 2 weeks to end January, where we saw that record-breaking cold in many days with sub-zero temperatures. Now, we've already had one Arctic blast so far this season. The timing is different, but the result is similar. Long-range climate patterns can have a big impact on seasonal weather. You may have heard of one of these patterns, El Nino or La Nina. The warming or cooling of tropical Pacific waters can lead to milder or cooler winters based on the change in global weather patterns. But this year, similar to last year, we're in a neutral phase, meaning this is unlikely to have a big impact on our winter weather. But let's go to the source of that cold air, the Arctic, and more importantly, the Arctic ice. In the month of October this year, we were at an all-time minimum for the extent of that ice, and we continue to flirt with all-time minimums through November and likely to continue into December. Why do we care? That Arctic ice and its cold air is the anchor for the polar vortex. With less Arctic ice, the polar vortex tends to weaken. When it's strong, the coldest air typically stays around the Arctic, around the pole. But when it weakens, it can often split, and that leads to an increased frequency of Arctic outbreaks. And if we get locked in one of these patterns, we can see record cold and heavy snow, like back in 2013, 2014, when we saw 100 inches of snow that season. Now, right now, this does not look to be the case. The pattern for the rest of the month and into December is for the coldest air to stay around the Arctic and tilted back towards Siberia. Now, we can only see changes in the polar vortex about 2 weeks to a month out. That's as far as we can really see those changes develop. And it looks like the erratic nature will likely continue between cold and milder conditions for another season. I think winter 2020 will see swings between cold and milder air. And even with that, we can have near normal snowfall, especially in the lake effect belt. But if we don't see a record cold outbreak like we did last year, we'll likely end up with above normal temperatures and fewer days below zero. Typically, this would be it for a winter forecast, but we need to start thinking about flooding. It may be a bigger concern each year. We can handle a lot of snow, but a flood like 2018 was devastating for many. The end of winter is trending wetter and wetter. In fact, 4 of the past 5 Februaries have seen above normal precipitation, much of that falling as rain, especially the historic February of 2018. And flood events may be more likely to happen than record snow events as we continue on into the future, and it's something we may need to start planning for. Reporting for the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Team, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Coombs.